Türkiye Sermaye Piyasaları Kongresi.
Welcome to the Turkish Capital Markets Congress. We'll continue with our panels. Well, regulators are discussing the sustainability roadmap within the framework of the economic reform package on this session. And our moderator is Turkish Capital Markets Association Chairperson İbrahim Öztop. And our panelists are Dr. Yakup Asarkaya from Banking Regulation and Supervision Agency, he's the vice chairman, and also Ali Ersoy from Insurance and Private Pension Regulation and Supervision Agency, he is the second chairperson, and also Korkmaz Ergün, CEO and board member of Borsa Istanbul, will be with us. And without further ado, I'd like to leave the floor to Mr. Öztop to moderate the session.
Değerli izleyiciler, panelimizi başlatmadan önce hepinize
Thank you. I'd like to welcome you all before starting the panel. This is the 5th year of the Turkish Capital Markets Congress, and we will discuss the sustainability roadmap within the framework of the economic reform package. I'd like to thank the Vice Chairman of Banking Regulation and Supervision Agency, Yakup Asarkaya, and second chairperson of Insurance and Private Pension Regulation and Supervision Agency, and CEO and board member of Borsa Istanbul, Korkmaz Ergün. Thank you so much for your participation. Well, we will discuss one of the hot topics, which is sustainability. And of course, we'll also discuss the critical role of financing. As you have followed closely, Turkey has become a signatory to the Paris Convention on October, and His Excellency Mr. President announced a reform package back in March, which also includes sustainability. And without further ado, I'd like to start with Mr. Yakup Asarkaya, the Vice Chairman of the Banking Regulation and Supervision Agency. Well, sustainability is important, but how does sustainability affect banking activities? Can we start with that one, please? Of course. Well, as you know, sustainability covers a lot of issues from education to women empowerment. It has such a wide scope. Looking at a specific definition, sustainability includes all approaches to tackle and prevent climate change. And if you want to prevent climate change, well, the fundamental purpose here is to reduce carbon emissions and, of course, bringing it to a net zero over time. The Green Deal of EU or the Paris Convention also targets economies to get decarbonized. Of course, this requires a fundamental change in all business models, and you have to set your economic structure accordingly. So sustainability is an issue of the real sector in essence, especially industry, transportation, and agricultural activities shall transform in order to reach related sustainability goals. So thinking of financial sectors and banking sectors, of course, they will play a supporting role. They will be the leading and the incentivizing ones, and of course, they will face many challenges on the way. So companies who fail to bring their emissions to international standards will face higher costs in terms of reaching to finance, or they might face limitations when they need to have access to financing. Of course, this brings about different challenges for banks too. If banks fail to manage climate risks, then they might face damages or reputational losses. So at this point, I think it'll be a great starting point. So thank you.
Son basınımızın da ifade etmiş olduğu üzere dün gerek başkanımızın da ifade etmiş olduğu üzere bununla ilgili bazı girişimlerimiz var. Girişimleri
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Bey, for giving me this opportunity. As you all know, distinguished participants, there are two global problems. We see global warming and COVID-19 pandemic. They require urgent intervention, global intervention. It cannot be solved by individual interventions. Global warming is also threatening not only our personal lives, but also financial world as well. And these concepts have made green finance and sustainability important concepts. And it is making it compulsory to transform to green economy. And in terms of sustainability, these policies, for them to be successful, finance sector plays a key role. As you all know, green transformation and low carbon economy, they require high cost infrastructure investments, but not one country cannot short finance such investments, and mid and long run investments can be made by capital markets. 2 days ago, $1 trillion infrastructure investment package was announced, and long-term financing provision, innovative and thematic financial instruments have become very important. And we know that the expectations of the investors are important and they are on the table. Green bonds are of great importance. There's an increasing interest in the international markets and their successful green bond issuance. And since 2016, we have been observing it, but there is a lack of legal regulator, and we would like to create the legal infrastructure in that regard. We don't want everyone to issue green bond because it might create a reputation loss risk, because the sustainable funds are international funds, and in the last 3 years, in terms of issue, there are geometrical increases, and we don't want to lose reputation. So we would like to have a legal infrastructure in that regard, and green transformation and sustainability matters in the past were on the voluntary basis. But in recent years, especially after the approval of the Paris climate agreement and also the Green Deal, this has become an obligation, because we think that this is going to be binding for all the companies in the days to come. And the companies, if they don't consider global warming, they don't calculate their risks well. Therefore, those companies lose their attractiveness, for the investors. Therefore, we are working to implement green projects in our country. This is how we look at the green transformation's effect on capital markets. Thank you very much. Now I would like to ask my question, Ali Ersoy. When we say sustainability, environment is the first thing that comes to our mind. And in the insurance sector, how would you elaborate on the sustainability? Microphone is off. My deep respects to you all. In line with the sustainability targets, the products with less environmental effects is important. Along with that, financially, along with the sustainability, financial growth need to be evaluated together, and the investors' effect on the environment is huge and they need to be lessened. As you know, in the recent period, distance sales regulation has been prepared. Our main purpose is to have paperless environment. And in order to have sustainability, what kind of actions can we take? We can have premium bonus system on the basis of product. Let's say, you know, car, looking at the fuel that that car uses, while looking at the emission values, we might have premium systems and we can take actions to protect the environment, or we can have insurance to protect the environment, or compulsory insurance to protect the pollution in the sea. There might be a collateral to protect the third parties, like the, you know, in the combat against the pollution. There might be an insurance of the people in charge of pollution. There might be a indemnity, sorry. So all of these risks might be taken under guarantee by insurances. And there are risks with global warming, the natural disasters like Tarsim, Dask institutions. We are taking actions within this framework. Protection of the environment is the main point. Less energy, less paper, less water. As an individual, we need to consider all these matters because the nature is something that we will leave to our children, and the guarantees that we will offer in the insurance sector is going to be regulated accordingly. And in terms of private pension, we do have some actions in that regard. Within the sustainability index, green funds contribution might be higher. So we do have actions in that regard. 10%, for example, in BIST, Istanbul Stock Exchange, 10% of them should be sustainable, and in the automatic participation system in the in the private pension, there should be stocks that are going to be listed in the sustainability index. These are the actions that we might take. Thank you very much. As the Capital Markets Union, we are not the issuer only. You know, it's good to see that there is positive discrimination for the investors in that regard as well. I think it's meaningful. And I'm sure that such fund resources, both in domestic and international markets, we can encourage people and the investors. We need such a positive discrimination in order to create such a market. If you allow me, while we are discussing sustainability and finance, we need to be talking about the market as well. From Istanbul Stock Exchange, we have Levent Bilgin, Sustainability Index. You are publishing it, and there are companies within this index, and the companies as their balance sheet, you know, are they're also competing within this index as well. Could you elaborate on the developments in the sustainability index of Istanbul Stock Exchange, and what are the examples, international examples of it? Distinguished Chairman, distinguished participants, hi. As Istanbul Stock Exchange in 2010, we started to create a sustainability index. Maybe it was too early. There were some challenges, and till 2013, we didn't have any result back then, and we needed to have a different way.
Anlaşalım.
And we had an agreement with a credit rating agency so that our companies could be evaluated. And we started the index. In 2014, there were 15 companies. Now we have 59 companies. And soon I believe that this number will increase. And when I look at the sustainability performance of these companies, you see a rise over there as well. It's not just in terms of quantity, but also performance rose. And companies started to establish specific departments, and those who already had their departments enlarged their scope. And it actually contributed to our stock exchange too, because the subject grabbed a great deal of attention. But the interest in sustainability created a resource challenge in rating agencies. And now, of course, we want more companies to be evaluated, but we couldn't allocate resources properly, even though we had contacts with many companies. And this year we started to work with Refinity. Since 2014, IRIS was coming up with valuations. Well, we changed it this year so that our companies could be evaluated better. And before, only listed companies could be included in the index, but now all companies can take place in this index. And the eligibility criteria was quite low at the beginning because, as you know, that's how the nature of it was. We had a really low threshold and we wanted to increase that. But of course, at the same time, we had to update the criteria too. But we got successful in this regard. Eligibility criteria is increased now, and now more and more companies can apply for an index. And one of the most important gains for this year was to reach transparency. IRIS and other valuation companies would come up with reports, and they would come up with these reports for investors. They would assess and forward it. So we could not publicly disclose those, and this was quite a shortcoming both on the investors side, because they had to pay to have access to reports, and companies could not see their rivals or other sector players. They could not assess others. They could not identify best practices, or members of academia would come up with certain demands because they needed to have access to data, but this was not possible.
Şirketlerin
ESG data of all the companies can be seen in icon screens, or the scores that the companies have been given can be seen online as well. Therefore, there is a transparency, and transparency is an important element of the sustainability, and we granted it. Icon is rating more than 10,000 companies. They used to rate many companies in Turkey as well, but with index cooperation, we are going to increase the number of companies to be rated, and ESG data is going to be put to the attention of the investors. In addition to that, the companies, they're going to correct their own data, and the rates are going to be higher, and they will reflect the reality in a better fashion. Many investors, not only in Turkey, but also in the world, they do have Bloomberg and Reuters screens. But what happens in Turkey? Only a few companies used to announce their data here, and their data was insufficient. Even some companies within our index, along with this initiative, more companies' data is going to be there and the data is going to be more correct and it's going to be open for all the investors. I think this matter is of great importance. Valuation used to be only once a year, but now after they enter their data, 6-8 weeks later, there's going to be a score. And at the beginning of each quarter, we are going to be adding those companies within our index. And controversy score. And this score is also going to be calculated. Negative news, for example, about the sustainability. This is going to be regarded as controversy score. And if there's negative developments, we might be omitting that company from the index. Valuation is a costly job, and we're getting participation fee for that. The share of the stock exchange, we started to pay more, but we started not to get any participation fee from the companies, and our sustainability index have become more sustainable. This is all I would like to say about the index. Thank you very much. Our efforts about sustainability dates back to 2015, and with Green Deal action plan, our efforts about sustainable banking has gained impetus. There are two important matters from the perspective of BRSA, creating an infrastructure about sustainable banking, and the second one, cooperation and communication with international institutions and fostering them. In order to create the infrastructure, in 2018, there was an initiative, Turkish banking sector sustainability research. And for the banking sector, that was the first, especially for us. Some companies did have some studies, but for us, it was our first, and it is an important research for us, because we haven't seen anything similar to that since then. And in 2021, with the participation of the personnel from different departments of our institution, Sustainability Working Group was established. Loan allocation and monitoring processes guidance were published, and also from the banks, the basic principles, basic expectations have been uttered in that regard. Within the cooperation of the international institutions, our company, SPN, our institution has become a part of that SPN, and also in the Basel Congress workforce. And in September 2021, financial sectors greening international platforms, these are some platforms that we have been a party of, and we attach great importance to share our best practices. And in international sustainability scoring, this matter is also very important. And our banks and other financial institutions, for them to provide resource from the international markets, this indicator is going to be very important. And in 2021, in different dates, World Bank, a European Bank of Development, International Monetary Fund, by meeting them, we met them and we informed them. Thank you very much.
Teşekkürler İbrahim Bey.
Thank you. Looking at the capital markets, we see that important steps are being taken after the announcement of Green Deal Action Plan. Private, public sector, academia got together and established work groups and the fact that we became a signatory to the Paris Convention, I must tell you that these issues are prioritized deeply. And as CMB, we announced a sustainability principles compliance framework, which was carried out with the collaboration of Borsa Istanbul. So we wanted to turn this into a comprehensive framework so that we can support ESG activities, so that this framework could be included in corporate reporting, and so that we could report seasonal performances. We expect companies to follow these principles, and if they fail to do so, we need them to report, to come up with a report so that they can explain why they are not following these principles. We want to contribute all efforts, and just like mentioned momentarily, all the mentioned risks are tangible, serious risks. So financing reporting is as important as non-finance reporting. But of course, non-finance reporting won't be as easy as the financial reporting, because having access to data, having all the figures would be more challenging. But as you know, international standards are trying to be established, and we announced our support to this initiative because this was established under IRFS, and it shows us how financial and non-financial reports are intertwined. And in the future, I believe that similar liabilities will be attached to all companies. And Green Deal, well, project-based securities were a great initiative. Project-based securities would require a great deal of capital and financing, because you would have to finance mega projects like those in infrastructure, health, and in other related sectors. So if we want companies to have their green transformation, then these are all great instruments, and this would provide a great window of opportunity. And we announced the first regulation, and soon I hope that such projects will be financed through these initiatives. As you know, there is a great project pipeline for green transformation, and so we hope that such projects will be financed through capital markets, or current projects could be financed through the instruments that we just mentioned, so that we can contribute to green transformation. And these are all the works that we have carried out in the past. Well, thank you so much. Again, let's continue with the insurance sector. Insurance means risk management in essence, and it is already discussed, but as you know, in automotive sector, the recent developments are quite interesting. Autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, these are all interesting topics. So when it comes to investing in the future, how do you see your sector now? Well, before answering this question, let me tell you what we are focusing on. Well, obviously there is a change, there is a transformation. For example, traffic insurance, meaning all land vehicles. Their share was 50%, but it dropped to 38% in the last 5 years. But natural disasters, diseases, these pillars are on the move. So this shows us that in some areas, risk intensification is diminishing, and our population is quite young, but insurance eligibility is quite low and the penetration is quite low. But as a regulatory body, we have to determine shortcomings, and we have several actions to overcome our shortcomings. And if I were to answer your question, yes, automotive sector is going through a different time. Autonomous vehicles or electric vehicles, these are interesting, but it is obvious that such developments will affect the future of insurance. But let's think of it like that. I believe that having no accidents resulting in material damages would be the ideal future for all of us. And with the decree from His Excellency, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the mentality should be that even a single loss of life after an accident is too much. And so, yes, production capabilities might drop accident possibilities, but we have to do other things as well. You have to have environmentally friendly urbanization, but developments in this area would affect real estate sector. Of course, the only way to grow is to have related incentives. And again, when it comes to agricultural activity, in terms of protecting the farmers and producers, in order to protect them from loss of revenue, we came up with a pilot project that will be implemented in Konya soon. So the funding principle here is to ensure a continuity, and all the electricity or electrical vehicles or environmentally friendly to reach sustainability goals can be supported. In the automotive sector can do a lot more, and also life insurance would come front. So we came up with individual pension fund for the minors, and we wanted to cover parents too. This would be a great step towards future as well. So in parallel to all the amendments, and we have had developments in other areas as well. For example, distance sale, you purchase a cell phone or you purchase a laptop, and on a paper-free environment, then you will have access to have different insurance plans. Maybe in the future, the world would look quite different, but we already started to work on cyber insurance plans too. And we're living in an era that ransom software is on the rise. And if you want to be sustainable, you have to pay attention to those issues as well, because collateral has increased to 47%, and the pricing and the cost has risen to 30%. These will all have effects on our sector, but as our institution, well, we are heavily working on this, and our works will be completed soon. And I know that we bear a great responsibility, and we're trying our very best to fulfill our responsibilities. I'm sure you do. Thank you so much. So now let's go back to Borsa Istanbul and sustainability. Do you have any international initiatives? Can you inform us on this issue? Well, sure. General Manager Korkmaz Ergün was appointed as the chairperson of the International Exchanges Federation, and as the exchange, of course, we are a part of the sustainability work group of the federation. So this makes us more visible, more apparent, and of course, it gives us the opportunity to follow all the recent developments. In 2012, the UN Sustainable Exchanges was established, and Borsa Istanbul was a part of it. And today, almost all exchanges are member of that initiative. And last month, again, under the umbrella of UN, in order to grab attention to derivatives, they announced the sustainable derivatives market, and we were one of the 11 founding exchanges as Borsa Istanbul. So we're not just following the developments, we want to be there as developments occur. And another international initiative is that with OIC, in order to promote sustainability activities and in order to create awareness, we take part in various activities. So there's a lot to do. There are a lot of steps to take, and all stakeholders should, we will continue to work with all stakeholders. Okay, thank you so much. Well, actually, it is the last part of the panel, and I want to focus on the future, and I want to leave the floor to Asar Koya. So what are the future plans of banking regulation and supervision agency, especially when it comes to managing the ESG risks? What will be your approach in the future?
Thank you. As I have expressed before, in June 2021, we have released a guide about the processes on loan allocations. And then again, after in this period, we will also, in the scope of Green Deal, of course, we have many steps to take ahead of us. And for the banking sector, the roadmap for determining the roadmap for the banking in terms of green banking is our plan, and also for the fundamental principles and accounting, reporting, or making a press statements to the public are planned. And of course, about preparing these guides, of course, we need some international sustainability committee and some international regulatory bodies will be followed in terms of preparing these issues and guides, of course. And for managing these processes, we attach great importance, I would like to say. This issue is a new area for all of us. Till today, banking sector, we always talk about credit risk, operational risks, or other risks. We define the sector like that, but now we have new areas. We have to measure them and how to figure them. We don't know that yet, but of course we will work with the international bodies I have talked, and we are in communication with them, so that of course we will learn from their experience, and also I hope we will contribute to them too with our works. And of course, we will follow their regulations as the common regulation which will govern all of us. So that's it. Thank you, dear Asarkaya. Now, dear Erdoğmuş, for the what are your steps to be taken in these issues for the sustainable finance issues about the stock exchange capital markets board? So raising awareness in the public, it's a need. It's very clear that we have to raise the awareness. So as an NGO, we have set our prioritization in this field, especially for financing green projects, so that we can also invest or provide investments for the people to increase who want to invest in green projects, to increase the variety, a wide range of variety of products, so that we can also prepare the ground for investments, so that we can provide also green investments. So, and we are also working about preparing a green project or green financing plans. We have developed green rent certificate preparations and green project investment guides. And also the project draft is released on for the opinion of the public in our website at November 3, so November the 3rd. So you can have a look to the website so that you can add your opinions. So we have also shared these opinions and exchange views with international and national bodies, both for the draft and both for the expectations of all shareholders in this issue. Our main aim here is to get a common logic on both public and private shareholders, so that we can finalize this draft and of the guide, and so that we can also add into provide easy access to the financial resources for green investments, so that we can also increase the green investment tools of our sectors. We have three main purposes. First, to make a clear vision about if the project is green or not. And the second is, with the green needs, the funds provided for these green needs, are they used adequately or not? Because it's of great importance, especially the investments for the investors who are attaching importance for that. And in order not to violate these green investments, we know that greenwashing is also an issue we have to take care of, because it is a new ecosystem being formed in our country. So we have to be sensitive in these issues too. And as you know, since 2016, the private sector, both in the rent certificates and both for the green tools, they have been used, but we didn't have a legal framework. So our main concern is, in order not to create a greenwashing concern, so that in order not to have a negative image in this sense, for so that we can also attract the investors abroad. So we will have a strict follow-up process in this issue while we prepare the guide. As Mr. Yakup also said, we have 2 international standards on this issue. We have prepared our work based on one of these international bodies, and so our guide is also prepared according to these standards, of course. And so for that reason, for the the considerations for assessing the green projects, using the green finance only for green projects, and also to report the social impacts with these green project fundings, to have a transparency in the project, to increase the trust of the investors, and also to prevent greenwashing. These are our purposes. So for the green bonds, for regulating the green bonds, I hope they will be the widest tool in terms of providing these funds. So green banking and green finance is something which are also should be discussed without shouldn't be discussed without mitigating the carbon emissions or climate change and its impact on them. And of course, there are serious development in the public. As the minister also explained yesterday, we have a new green financing issue, which is about a green loan. And he explained about the thing with some considerable costs. We can use these green loans for mitigating both CO2 emissions, for protecting biodiversity, for mitigating the effects in the air pollution. This finance can be used all in these projects, and they are also attracting a lot of attention from everyone. And so it will also decrease the funding costs, we think, and it will contribute a lot to the field, we can say. So for that occasion, I would like to say that these green bonds and green rent certificates, these are, of course, can be considered in a very wide range, you can say. It is with the mucilage, for example, sustainable bonds or sustainable green funding will be something we will discuss a lot for increasing employment, and with other loan instruments, and or it will also will provide a wide variety of new loan opportunities, I can say. For the final purpose, we can say, with the green transformation and green transformation, sustainable banking, it is a huge area. Certificate providers, reporting bodies, or the audit bodies, there are all of them. In Turkey, we don't have all these international or institutions developed in these issues. Our national bodies are not so developed in this sense. So our main aim is actually to have all the shareholders, to create all these shareholders in this ecosystem, and so that this added value can stay in Turkey, in the country too. Third-party verification, certificate, these are all provided from abroad services. So we actually attach importance to develop all these processes by ourselves, so that we can use these financial tools in terms of like the audit companies also can develop this. And also, first of all, we will create a guide which will comply to international standards. Then in the next period, we will achieve, I hope, these new domestic tools too. Thank you. Dear Erdurmuş, thank you so much for your information. Now, I would like to continue with insurance. Dear Ersoy, as you have also mentioned, we have an information system and the individual insurance system, as the state also mentioned, has provided us. So how the state and insurance companies can contribute to sustainability in terms of insurance, and also about individual retirement funds. Yes, we provide funds, and it's normal that the state is also contributing to the individual retirement. In 2013, there was a new shift in the individual annuity insurance. So now, in this automatic involvement, we have 13 million users and participants in individual annuity insurance, and it is around 2.3 billions. And we have also investments also in this area, and of course investors, and of course they determine their own amount, but even the state contributes to the area, of course. To determine how we can direct all these funds is something we have to talk. And of course, if the investors didn't prefer this fund, it goes automatically to the standard funds, and these standard funds for the are not so. We can involve these funds into green deal, into green financing too, and direct these issues. Now we have a fund around 9.5 billion Turkish liras fund, so we can use some of these funds so that where 30% of them is determined by us, of this fund is determined by us to use them in the green investments or green funds. So of course, people who are sensitive for protecting environment, for July, since July 2021, we have created a platform for individual annuity insurance for the personal pension system. And here, of course, the investors who green energy, sustainability, who are sensitive about these issues, or can channel all these funds to their projects. So here, especially for the Capital Markets Board, in terms of the rules they have made for the green loan tools, green rent certificates, all these values can be flexible by using these individual pension system funds. So of course, here for the platform and the regulation we have been using for this platform is an important tool for the investor, I can say, because if you, for example, you are not only limited with the company you have bought for the international pension system, you have the right to buy other instruments without channeling your funds to another place. So you have the right of buying the other funds. So it is an investment freedom, we can say. And as a sector, of course, we can also say that being sensitive to green is important for all of us, of course. So for the companies who created these funds by themselves, we need, of course, another direction for their road in the green banking. I think it will be meaningful. So for insurance systems or insurance companies, the funds they have created are paid by as a compensation, but some of them is also allocated to the sustainability, and it's around 100 billion liras. So it is something we can contribute, I hope, sustainability or to the green sensitive investors. So thank you, dear chair. I will ask another question. I would like to learn the approach of the companies, how much they are eager to create this ecosystem or to involve in these processes in the stock markets, how these companies are important. I think the state is preparing the awareness in these issues. I am sure that we will take the necessary steps, and we show that, of course, we take some necessary steps too. But in the company sides, I would like to listen your approach in this sense. So, as the last words, I'm curious about the approach of the companies in the stock market. For the companies in the stock markets, their sustainability attention is high, I can say. As I said, for the first time, we have 30 index companies were involved, then 50, then 100. We couldn't increase that, but now all the companies will be invited for this index. And in this period, the companies invited and who are not listed in this index also demand that they would like to be involved in these issues. And so that they say that we are also active in these issues. So we can say that there is a huge attention, and they're also in a very well prepared, I can say, in position. But so for sustainability approach, we have 3 points. One of them is, as a company, internalizing sustainability and create a good example. This is important. The second point is that for sustainability, to create new solutions, products, and services is important for us. And we have a good sustainability index and institutional investment index. And for the we also calculate index for the companies who are out of stock markets. One of them is in sustainability, one of them is guarantee index, and the other is women-friendly index. So we do not only develop that in this market, we do also calculate indexes for the companies if they demand that. And also, I can also say that we both want to increase the number of our indexes, and we would like to also develop new products in these indexes. The third point is that we also would like to encourage the market investors and the shareholders, and so that we can develop all together. For the Paris Agreement, for example, ratifying Paris Agreement actually accelerated all these works. So climate policies are of great importance for economic transformation, both for EU and both for other countries. And it is also accelerating with the supply chains in waves. So for all small or big companies, we want all our companies to focus on the risks and in the area and take precautions, and so that they can accelerate their sustainability works. So for this occasion, as I said, we have increased our companies' numbers, and all our companies now access and demand for to be involved in sustainability index, and then they can continue their work on this issue. And with this system, the companies will see their situation and prepare a target for them. We think that we provide a good tool for the companies for a starting point. And till now, we have, as I said, we have a huge variety of companies now in indexes, and we have now recently developed a sustainability guide tools, so that both we can provide tools for reporting in the next period, and both for the sustainability online trainings will be provided for our companies. Our companies will be informed about that, so that they can exchange the views, so that they can have lessons from their experience. For the next period, for the highest sustainability indexes, I hope we will create sub-indexes where they can have some more investment tools, or maybe stock market investments for some short-term or long-term investments. We would like to provide a wide variety of tools or products in these issues. And last Friday, we have started calculating sustainable involvement index, both for the investors who can, it is a tool which is actually both focusing on the green banking and sustainability, and for the participation banking. It can be related with CO2 emissions, it can be related with social issues, and it is it's a wide tool that they can channel all these funds both in these two thematic fields. And I think that the attention for these tools will be more attractive in the area in the next term, and it will be a long-term responsible investment tool, and also both for the individual pension system, for example. I hope it will develop more in the next years. Thank you so much. Actually, in our Congress today, we are discussing sustainability under 11 panels. It is actually of great significance. And so for both for our state, both for our stock market, we have learned how much they are all important in these issues. And we have seen all that about the issues, how they have dealt with it. And there are 3 questions here right now.
Bu olayı
They're wondering about the incentive dimension in that regard. You touch upon that a little bit, and as the union, how can we have incentives in that regard? How we can encourage? And as you already stated, the certification, the accreditation of such products are required, and the fund is going to be, where is it going to be used? And reporting is important, because at the end of the day, we need to draw a legal framework so that we don't create any possible abuse. But of course, it brings obligations, especially to the issuers, and the investors don't want to be hunted in that regard, which can be understood. We need to consider the benefit of both parties. When we look at the world examples, reporting, accreditation, etc., and the valuation experts, in sustainability, international standards are going to be defined. We need to have companies who can do so. But it brings burden, extra burden, and in order to encourage them, the issuers, the investors, there might be, strong incentives in that regard, because we can have a positive discrimination in that regard. And for the issuers, some costs maybe are given as grants in some countries. I would like to leave the floor to you. What kind of incentives can we have? What kind of incentives can the state have in order to create the awareness about the sustainability? We conducted many trainings, and we will continue doing so. But here, in taxonomy and also grant dimension, is there anything you would like to add? In terms of sustainability, while preparing green bond guidance, we talk about it as well. First of all, we have the priority to define the legal framework as well, and we had our discussions with Istanbul Stock Exchange as well. Our, incentives are limited. We do have a limit in that regard, and we are evaluating them. We are in touch with the Istanbul Stock Exchange. We know the grants, we know about them. We are working on them, but there's no concrete result yet. But we are knowledgeable about the fact that green transformation process is going to put additional burden on the issuers. We need to increase the awareness level so that we can make the issuers' job easier. So it's not possible to say something final here, but in terms of taxonomy, capital markets board doesn't have, you know, responsibility in that regard, but taxation is about the income authority, and we can discuss with them, and it's not possible to say much about it. But let me tell you, since 2016, in real companies, they do have they're issuing green bonds, and they can find financing in that regard. We don't have any concrete step in that regard. That's what I can say right now. Within the sustainability, there is a self incentive. We need to do something about it, because in the days to come, if you would like to send, you're not going to have, you need to be careful about the social rights, workers' rights. You're not going to have minors working. If they would like to find financing, they need to be careful about that. Thank you very much. We discuss sustainability. I would like to thank all the participants and the panelists.